Thank you for joining for another Lakeway Audits video. Today is April the 13th, 2021. It is 7 p.m. and we are getting ready to start the City Council electorals. We're going to be asking some questions. We are at Walter State Community College. I'll go have my seat and we'll get started.
Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you here tonight to the City Council Forum. Appreciate everyone being here tonight. I also want to welcome each of the candidates. Thank you all so much for taking time to answer questions and letting the public get to know a little bit more about you. I would like to introduce everyone that's here tonight. We've got Mr. Rob Burke on the end there and Mr. Bob Garrett, and they are both in the first ward. We've got Mr. Charles Cook and Ms. Kay Center, and both of them are in the third ward, and then at large we got Mr. Tommy Pittico. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. I'm going to turn it over to tonight's moderator, Mr. Mike Fishman.
Thank you, Steve. Again, welcome. Glad everyone made it out this evening, and thank each one of you all for participating. We really appreciate it. I'm Mike Fishman, Chairman of the Legislative Action Committee for the Morristown Area Chamber of Commerce, and I'm just, Steve gave me too many accolades. I'm actually the assistant moderator. Miss Deborah Williams, General Manager, is going to be our moderator this evening. I am the timekeeper, and they're going to lay down some rules for what maybe you guys might expect, and audience you all might expect. So first, we're going to have each candidate will be asked to make a 1-minute opening remarks, and then after that, and those opening remarks we've decided will be alphabetical by ward. We will start with Ward 1 with Rob Burke, then Bob Garrett. Then we will go to Ward 3, Charles Cook and Kay Center, and then at large, Tom Pettico. And so following the opening statements, the moderator will begin the question and answer portion of the program. The questions have been written by the Chamber, and to help the folks better prepare for the event, we've included the questions that each of you all received, where we can maybe have some specific answers on what you all plan to do in these particular areas. And so they have been prepped and prepared to comment on these particular issues that we feel are very important to our community. No questions will be accepted by the audience, and all the candidates will have the opportunity to answer all 5 questions. You will be given 2 minutes per answer, and the candidates within each race will answer first, and we will alternate. All the candidates will answer the questions, and each candidate will have the opportunity to present a 1-minute closing statement at the end of the question and answer session. And with that, Deborah, unless I've forgotten anything, I'm going to turn the program over to you. I do want to explain the rules on the buzzer. When your time begins, I'm going to give the green light. That's when you begin. You will get a caution light 30 seconds into your remarks. And so the opening remarks, 1 minute, so 30 seconds left, I'm going to turn on this yellow button. Okay? On the question and answers, you'll get this yellow button at 1.5 minutes, indicating you have 30 seconds left. Okay? And then I was going to give you a red button, but it's short. That means stop. So I might stand up and wave or something like that, but it will be noted that you will know I will wave my hand based basically at 2 minutes. And if you will wrap it up pretty much right then, because if it's 2 minutes and 5 seconds, I might go like that. Okay? And I'll try to be friendly. And with that, Deborah, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you, Mike. We're going to start the opening remarks session portion of the program. So, Mr. Burke, you're up.
Green lights on. Okay. You hear me? Yes, there we go. Thank you. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for our sponsors for putting this together. I really appreciate the hard work that has gone into this, and to give a little bit of a platform for us, for you, the citizens, to get to know us a little bit better. So I appreciate that. So I first considered running for city council several months ago when I just saw that there were some opportunities, some missed opportunities that we could take care of. There's been some lack of communication between certain council members and the people, lack of accountability for that failure to have those discussions with those people, and people deserve better than this. So considering that service to the community and to others has always been my passion, I knew that I could help in some way, and this is the best way that I feel like I could help, by being an advocate for the people and for the community. So a vote for me is a vote for adequate representation on the council, as I will work to engage the people in having their voice heard and ensuring that they have that type of representation. Thank you.
Mr. Bob Gare.
Hold on a minute, Bob. Let me get straight. First of all, I'd like to thank Deborah and her group for putting this on. It helped a whole lot of understanding of what's going on. And the reason I continue to run is several things on council that I'd like to be active in working with the council the next few years.
Mr. Cook, Mr. Charles Cook.
Okay, thank you to the Chamber and the Citizen Tribune for hosting this and inviting us and other candidates to this forum. I'm Charles Cook. I live here in Morristown. Lived here all my life, born and raised here, and I work here. My wife Jennifer and I have been married for 29 years, and we have 2 kids that go to Morristown East High School. I've been employed by Molly Engine Components for 33 years, and I decided to run for city council because I believe Ms. Center has failed at representing the most majority of the people, and I'm hoping that once this forum is over with, that I'll earn your vote.
Mrs. Kay Center.
Good evening. I want to thank the Chamber for hosting us tonight. And I want to tell you that I'm honored to serve the citizens of Morristown, and I'm humbled for your support. What makes me a valuable servant is my experience, dedication, and involvement in organizations on the local, state, and national level. I've served, I know our history. This experience, knowledge, and insight into Morristown and how it's evolved is invaluable. My record of proven leadership, dedication to making Morristown a great place to live, work, and raise a family, and due diligence as a responsible conservative in making my decisions is based on research, and that's why I deserve to serve. I'm running for city council because we have several projects that we've started, and I want to return so that I can see those to completion. I've dedicated over 35 years to service to the youth of this city, serving at East High School as a high school English teacher. And I continue to dedicate my time to Morristown City Council. My experience includes proven leadership that has produced results.
Mr. Tommy Pettigo.
I want to thank the Chamber too for giving us this opportunity. My wife and I and family moved here in 1986. We raised our children here. We love Morristown. We want to be part of Morristown. We had an opportunity when we retired to come back to Morristown by choice. We've lived a lot of places. Morristown is the greatest town that we've ever lived in. We want to see it prosper, and we want other people to be able to see what we see in Morristown. And I would thank you for your support.
Thank you. At this point, we're going to start the question and answers. Candidates, you each have the questions before you. To save time, I'm going to read them one time, and then each of you can answer. But if any of you feel that I need to repeat the question, please ask me to do that, and I will do that, and it won't take away from any of your time. We're going to start with the first question, and this goes to Mr. Burke first. And the question is, what is the top issue facing the city of Morristown, and what do you recommend to address it?
Well, there are several issues that we need to be considering when we're looking at what's going on as some of the top issues. Some would say increases in taxes and fees. Others might say that how to best support minority groups, including the homeless population. Others may even argue that maintaining current infrastructure, such as roads, are our top issues. However, although I agree with each of these and plan to impact these during my tenure on the council if elected, my top issue I agree with is that there's an underlying cause, an underlying issue that has significant implications if we do not address this quickly, and it is the disconnect between those who call themselves leaders in the city and everyone else. A 2019 survey showed that 40% have confidence in your city government. Look around. Less than half of you think that the city government is doing what they need to do. That same survey, 43% of people believe that government is acting in your best interest. Again, look around. You need to understand that if that is the way you feel, you have an opportunity to have better representation at the city level. So if voters are disenfranchised because of these things, again, we need to address that issue by getting out your vote, making sure that you feel as if you are represented and that your elected officials are listening to you and responding to you and have your best interest at mind. Once again, the survey shows the truth. The other things that we need to be looking at as far as the council's concerned, that there's open communication, transparency, and accountability for actions. And this is all of the council's responsibility and what I hope to bring to the council if elected. Thank you.
Mr. Garrett.
This question working. It says the top issue, so I will tell you what my top issue is, what all I can do, but the parks need to be reworked a lot. Franklin Reno Park needs a lot of work done on it. The roads need to be redone. That area needs to be run because it's way out of date. It's been there for all these years. It hasn't been changed at all. It's going to be overloaded with the new construction of houses and apartments being built. The tennis courts need to be redone too. I think the tennis courts are much used, and I used to play, and they haven't changed, refurbished it at all since then. The other parks, Martin Luther King Jr. Park, the doctor that owned the land next to it, if it could be used, the city could buy that because it's for sale now. And the other is Fred Miller Park. It gets a tremendous amount of load there. People come in there, but it's not any room for anything else on it. Fulton Hill is it has a few parking problems, and it doesn't fit a lot of improvements that you can do up there. So I think in Johnny Park it will be a very nice park when it's built. So I think that's what we need to do to help a lot of people who can't take long trips for vacation and use it a whole lot for their children for weekends and holidays.
Mr. Cook.
I believe the top issue of facing the city is the misuse of tax dollars. A few years ago, I listened to former chamber president Marshall Ramsey do a radio interview in the Tri-Cities area. He called Morristown the economic hub of the 7 or 8 county area. He talked about how people come here from these counties and they work here, they spend here, they shop here, they eat here. So my question is, what are we doing with all these tax dollars that are coming into Morristown from those areas? I think the council has lost its focus on the role of local government. The council must get its priorities back in line with the true role of local government and use those dollars from the top to the bottom of the list. There are a lot of good ideals out there that people want to do, but it's not the role of government to do it. The council needs to find a free market solution to these ideals. In the city that has over 0.25%, 26.2% of its population below the poverty level, the council can't keep raising taxes to pay for these things. Remember, our schools are opening up their lunchrooms to feed the kids when they're out of school, and we're raising taxes on these kids' parents. And here in Morristown, since 2006, the average cost in 2021 has increased $1,200 per household since 2006 just to live in the city of Morristown.
Mrs. Center?
Infrastructure determines the growth and sustainability of our city. The main services associated with that are usually water, sewer, electricity, and roads. In addition to that, we have bridges and sidewalks and parks. This is what attracts our industry, and this is what makes our city sustainable and viable. I look at infrastructure like the bones and arteries, and if you have good bones, you need in anything, you're going to survive. So that's what we need to concentrate on and make efficient delivery systems. Now, in Morristown, we have a unique situation in that water, sewer, and electricity are provided by the Morristown utility system, and the city provides all of the others. What we have to do is to continue to work together, do long-range planning, and be sure that we provide these services for the growth and expansion that we attract, but we also maintain what is in place. We are going to have to do that by making sure that we continue to collaborate and work together. We need to be ready for the infrastructure that is demanded when industry moves here. And Morristown is a unique place in that when an industry wants to locate, they have a pad-ready site that has all of the infrastructure right there. We are unique in that. It's critical that we continue long-term planning for roads and traffic circulation as the community grows. I know each of you all have noticed that around town, that we have more and more traffic, and we need to be sure that we address those issues so that we can continue to invite other businesses in and people can flow in their daily transportation. Continuous communication is essential so that we can decide which projects need to be prioritized. And securing funding is the essential element to making sure that we can continue to expand our infrastructure and maintain what is in place. We need to upgrade and expand and be sure that we are ready for whomever wants to move here. We're having a housing boom. We have lots of developers that are building homes. We have people that are coming here on a daily basis. We have about 22,000 people that come into Morristown, and many of them decide to stay.
Mr. Pettigo?
Well, I guess you think my answers to this question is going to be infrastructure and roads and things like that. Actually, it's not. The biggest issue that we have facing our city, and what I recommend do about it, is we've got to come together. This town, this community, we've got to work together to make sure that we're the best that we can be. We've got to address it and be able to come together. We've got to have good jobs. We've got to have good education. We've got to have good parenting. We've got to have good role models. We've got to have good city council. We've got to have good county commissioners. We've got to have good churches. We've got to have whatever it takes to bring us together. We are one. And we can do it by doing what's best for the city. And the question of what are we doing with the tax dollars? Look around. You can see what's happening to the tax dollars. We're bringing in one of the largest factories in the state of Tennessee that's coming. We've got the biggest industrial parks of anybody around us. We're doing it, and we need to keep on doing it.
Thank you. Question number 2, and we will start with Ward 3 candidates, Mrs. Center and Mr. Cook, followed by Mr. Pettigo, then Mr. Garrett and Mr. Burke. The question is, what area of expertise do you or would you bring to the council? What skills, qualities, or specific knowledge do you have that would make you a valuable member of the Morristown City Council? Mrs. Center.
First of all, I do my research. I listen, I talk to people, and I go to the sites, especially if it's a tangible site, to see what's there and what unintended consequences might happen if we don't really look at the big picture. I like to see the personality of the site, if you will. We were talking about Franklin Reno Park. I went out there. We were talking about Morristown College. I went there. So I feel that's part of what I think is a strength on my part. I go to the site. I don't just make a decision without knowing what's going on. And most importantly, I look at the potential that is there. We need to be thoughtful and reflective in all of our decisions, and we need to respect each other individually on council. I'll take a conservative, steady approach in my decision-making process. And I think that we have a good council that is working together and is making decisions in the best interest of the community and spending those dollars for what it needs to be spent on. The qualities that I bring to the table have produced positive results and have enabled our city to grow and prosper. I put forth the time and effort. It says it's a part-time job, but if you're going to do it, it's not a part-time job. Because I am retired after teaching over 35 years at East High, I have the time, I have the commitment, and I am ready and willing to work. Who am I? I'm Kay. I'm what you see. You know me. We've worked together. I've talked to you about things. I'm dedicated. I'm a good listener. I'm open to ideas. I do my research and due diligence, have a broad network of contacts on all levels of government, and I'm not afraid to reach out to somebody and say, I need an answer. I need help. Give me some advice on what works for you. What are the best practices? And you know, a lot of those people call me and say, what are you doing in Morristown? And I hosted a group here, and after they were here, this gentleman came back and he said, we're going to build an industrial park like you have. And they took that back. I'd taken them to Alps, and another person said the same. I am involved, and I am ready.
Mr. Cook.
Okay. My background is in the industry. I don't believe there's a council member on the council that has much background in industry. So in a city that relies so much on its industry as its tax base, I'll provide a greater insight. In industry, working as a team is important. 28 of my 33 years in industry has been in some kind of form of management. In the real world, we don't get to, if we don't get things right, we don't get to do like government and raise your taxes, raise your rates to cover for our mistakes. If we fail, people lose their jobs, people go home. That is the mindset the city council needs to have. If the council fails, people lose their money, they lose their jobs, industry loses money, the commercial loses money, and people lose their jobs. Tax increases kill budgets and kill jobs.
Mr. Pettigo.
Being self-employed, making a payroll, paying your bills, making sure that you deliver a good product at a good price. I've been a mayor of the city. I've been chairman of the school board. I've been associated with the Tennessee Municipal League for 30 years. I was president of the Tennessee Municipal League. Gave you an opportunity to see how other people do things, and you can get an expanded view of what's going on and how you can do things better. I think that we have a good council. I think that we need to make sure that we're doing what's right, and I think that the expertise and what I bring to the city council is just what the city council needs.
Thank you. Mr. Garrett.
Several years ago, I was working for a engineering company in Knoxville, design water and wastewater systems. And I was working over at the University of Tennessee on Gale Avenue Urban Renewal Project. my boss called me, he said, go up to Morristown, Alpha Tablet has an 80 water main broken, someone fix it. Back then, you just said 2 words, yes, sir. So I came up here and I wanted who to get it fixed, repaired, so I thought, well, I'd go to the water department because I had to talk to them to get elevations for pump stations and reservoirs for Alpha Tablet because we were their consulting engineer. Well, they came down and repaired the 8-inch transit water main, and when they got through it, they offered me a job. One of the reasons they offered me a job, they laid a water line somewhere and no water came out. So I went to work for it right off the bat, operating the system. I did it for 42 years. And then after I retired, I thought, well, I need to give back to the community. So I ran for city council and got elected and had 12 years of experience with municipal government and city council. So I think that I have quite a bit of experience.
Thank you. Mr. Burke?
Qualities I have to be able to be a great team member for this council and for the city is that I've lived, although a shorter life than some, it's been a life of some service to others and a life of leadership. All my life I've had to rise to the level of leadership to serve others during their darkest hour. And if I can do that in someone's darkest hour, I'm sure that I can be a great leader for the city because I'm going to listen to the people of the city. As a young child, I had to become man of the house, if you will, at a much younger age than what most children have to do because that's what my mom needed from me. That's what my younger siblings needed from me. Later on in life, I joined the military, not for myself, but for service for my country and for something greater than myself. Even on top of that, with my ASVAB scores, my recruiter said, Burke, you can do anything you want. What do you want to do? I said, I want to help the most I can. He said, go be a medic. The opportunity to serve people in the time of their greatest need. If you're ever in the military or know anyone in the military, that's the word you don't want to hear is when someone shouts for medic. But I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be the guy when someone needed someone, they called me, they looked at me, they trusted me, and they knew that whatever was happening, I was going to take care of the situation. That's who I wanted to be, that's who I am, and that's who I always will be. Apart from that, I was also an EMT in the civilian world when I left the military in the exact same situation, helping people in their most dire times of need. I'm a social worker for the state. I've worked for the Department of Children's Services with children that have been in foster care or at risk of coming into state's custody. Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, working with families that have children with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I've got a considerable amount of expertise in working with people that have difficult situations and how to partner together and overcome those. Because partner with people and agencies from varying ideologies to do the most good and to get the job done, no matter what it is. Thanks.
Thank you. Question number 3. Now that the Public Works building is complete and work has begun on the community center, what is the next large civic project this city should consider? And we'll start with Mr. Pettigo.
I think what we need to do is complete the job that we started. One of the things that I think happened when I came on the council in 2015, we realized that we need a long-term plan. Where is Morristown going to be 20 years from now? What are we going to be doing? When I came here in 2015, the furniture market was about to go out of business. And one of the things that was so impressive about what was happening was that this community was so diversified with so many industries that they were able to move and move fast. Somebody, somewhere along the line, realized we need a long-term plan. We need that plan now. We've got that plan now. The Civic Center, the Community Center rather, is just the beginning. We need to be able to be the best Morristown that Morristown can be. We don't need to be comparing ourselves to Knoxville, Johnson City, Kingsport. We need to say, we are what everybody else wants to be. That's our next project, is to make sure that we are where we need to be in that time period.
Mr. Burke.
Although I understand the need for long-range planning, and that's one of the major reasons why I wanted to run for the council, was not just to make the city and to assist the city to be the best it could be in my lifetime, but I have 2 children at West High School that I want to make the best for them, and hopefully in a really long time, grandchildren that I want to make the city great for them, and so on. It is not just about what we're doing for this generation, but beyond. However, considering that we've only begun to break ground at the community center and really just begin to move some dirt around, I think it's quite premature and irresponsible for us to begin thinking about how we're going to spend the taxpayers' money yet again. Instead, we need to take slow, incremental, and calculated steps. These steps, I believe, include, number 1, we must consult the people. The people have great ideas for this city if we will just listen to them. Number 2, we must complete the current unfinished projects. Number 3, maintain our current projects, infrastructure, and amenities such as roads and parks, and make sure that they are at the top notch of what they need to be. Number 4, we need to look at our budget. We need to trim the fat. We need to be as fiscally responsible when considering any future projects, because we can't spend what we don't have, and we certainly cannot tax people more than this current council has already done so. So once we've taken all of those steps and completed them, I would love to hear what the community wants to do for the next civic project in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garrett?
Well, there's projects that we've started already, with a comment on that, we need to complete those. But right now, I believe I would put some effort on the parks that need to be redone, also on some other projects that haven't finished, and also the property taxes affect industrial prospects coming in here quite a bit, just like the bus plant out there. So we need to keep our property taxes competitive so we can still recruit industry to get jobs. Jobs is very important for our community because young people that graduate from high school or tech school or college need to have a place to work. So I think there's a lot of things that need to be done.
Thank you. Mr. Cook?
The roads in Morristown, they must be repaved. The roads are an embarrassment. Frankly, if someone's been on the city council for more than 2 terms, they're to be embarrassed. The roads are in that kind of shape. You own it. But the council can't raise taxes to do this. Remember, over a quarter of the population is below the poverty level. And our schools are feeding our kids, a lot of the kids in the community when they're closed. So according to the numbers provided by the Citizen Tribune in June of 2019, the council has taken $2.7 million per year out of the local economy and $81 million over the next 30 years for a community center. 71% of those dollars come from industry and commercial businesses. And that will be passed on to the employees and the customers in form of higher prices and lower salaries. That's the other side of taxes that we see. You know, when politicians raise taxes, especially property taxes, we hear, well, it's only $5 on a home of $115,000, $5 a month. Well, those politicians would make honor students at the School of Bernie Sanders for economics, okay? And as I said before, the median income per household in the city of Morristown is only $33,000 a year. We've got to go back to what our role of local government is and focus on that and get free market solutions for the other things that we want done.
Thank you. Mrs. Center?
Each year, the city council conducts 2 long-range planning meetings, and in that meeting, we come up with a future plan. In long range, a community this size really needs a performing arts center, but now is not the time. That's down the road. What we need to focus on now is financial stability and finishing the projects that are on the board. And the citizens asked for this community center that we're building 25 years ago when we did the Visioning 2000 process. No one stepped up over those 25 years, so the city stepped up to give the citizens what they deserve, a quality facility that will have sports and events. Let me tell you about long-range planning in City Council. First, our public works had outgrown its site. We've been there for 50 years, and we needed a facility that could house inside our garbage trucks, our salt trucks, and other vehicles. We needed an updated maintenance shop that could accommodate all of our vehicles that need to be worked on and the larger, longer fire trucks. We had outgrown that facility. Next, the Tennessee College of Applied Technology needed additional space. By relocating Public Works and donating the land to the TCAT Center, we opened up an opportunity for them to expand their program and provide opportunities to our citizens. And then there was a third. There was a three-way win. The Humane Society then was able to relocate out to the East Industrial Park. So all these parts are moving together. It's vision. We work together. Above all, we had all three groups winning. TCAT expanded, Public Works met the needs, the Humane Society met their needs, and success became the quality of the journey.
Thank you. Question number 4. Given the opportunity to change one thing about city government in Morristown, what would you change and why? Mr. Garrett.
That's a pretty hard question for me. What I wish would happen, city government is pretty good city government, very good city government here. I wish we had more qualified people running the city council, so the public would have a better choice to vote for. I think it would make it stronger council, but I can't think of any one thing that I would change about city government.
Thank you. Mr. Burke?
One thing I would change is the council's effort to inform, involve, and invest in the public. This can only be achieved in open communication, transparency, and listening to the people. So we must never forget the council must answer to the people. Your vote counts, and that's why we're here today. Many people say that certain council members refuse to return phone calls and emails. It's unprofessional, inappropriate, and must be resolved. You, the people, decide who sits on these seats. And if you believe that the people that are sitting in these seats, and in the current council seats, no longer are working for your best interest, at least 57% of you, according to the 2019 survey, then you need to get out and make your vote count and see the changes that you see fit. So what do those changes look like to me? I'm not just up here talking a bunch of words and saying things that sound great on camera for you guys to hear, and then who knows what happens. I have a plan. So informing the community looks like open communication, whether that comes from the city as a whole, the council, or each council member to each specific ward. And then you must respond. It's just common courtesy that you respond to people's phone calls, emails, and voicemails. That's not happening. Involving the community, we should create citizen task force teams to make suggestions to the council, such as we talked earlier about our civic projects and what that can look like. Why don't we create a team built of citizens that they can get out and do some research and make some suggestions to the council? Maybe revising some ordinances. Some of these ordinances need some work on them. Maybe we can create some citizen-led teams to be able to handle that and run suggestions by us for the council to make some changes. How about investing in our community? We can create opportunities to reach our young people and prepare and mentor them to become tomorrow's leaders. Because sitting here today, we have an opportunity and we have a requirement that we must take care of our city, not only for today, but for tomorrow, and our future is then.
Thank you. Mrs. Center?
Up front, I want to tell you, I talked to our Director of Planning, Steve Nielsen, about this idea because I said, I'm going to talk about it tonight, and I don't want you to be hit cold turkey. I wouldn't change anything in the city right now. I would expand, and that would be the working relationship between the Planning Commission, the Planning Department, and City Council. I would have the City Council and the other two groups come together on a quarterly basis to talk about what's on the table, what's going to be considered. I believe this would facilitate the decisions that council's asked to make, and it would help us because then we would know what the end project is going to look like that we have approved. Right now, the planning department brings the items or requests that are made by individuals to the planning commission to make that decision. The planning commission will make a decision on zoning or annexation or concept plan, and then that'll come, if it passes, it comes to city council. City council then approves it, and after we approve it, even if we have a concept plan of what the developer is going to build, we don't see it after that. It goes back to the planning department, and depending on how many structures are going to be completed on that particular site, that determines whether it even comes back to the planning commission. So a quarterly meeting would then allow us, the city council members, to see the outcome, the whole project as it's going to be, and even ask some questions there. On a quarterly basis, we should be able to catch up on what's going on, and I just think communication is vital, and knowing so that we have that opportunity to inquire, more eyes on the project, more input, and more understanding of what's happening in our community, because we are growing. People are coming here, they like the tax rate that they have here, they like what we offer, and we have not only business, but we have residents that are coming to study. They like our education system, and so what we have is a town that is going to be a destination.
Thank you. Mr. Cook?
I would want to change how the ward council members are elected. If they're running in Ward 1, Ward 2, that's where they live and that's where they're running at. And we don't let the voters in West Tennessee elect our state representatives and state senators in East Tennessee. So why would we let the voters in Ward 1 or Ward 2 elect the ones in Ward 3 or 4? That's not the way our county government does it, our county commission. I can understand the citywide for the mayor's race and the 2 at large, but the people living in Ward 3 or 4 or whatever needs to be the ones that elect the city council members there. It makes you focus more on your own ward instead of focusing on the group that might get you elected in a larger population.
Thank you. Mr. Pedigo?
I don't say this lightly. If I saw something that needs to be changed, I'd already be changing it.
Thank you. Question number 5. One vote on the council isn't enough to get things done. As such, the ability to work with others, build coalitions, and get enough votes are necessary if your platform is going to be a reality. Talk about your ability to work with others, especially in the political realm, and how you would rally others to support your cause. Please be specific. And Mr. Cook, we start with you.
Well, you don't work somewhere for 33 years and not be able to work with people. There's a lot of people that I've worked with over the years, and they've been hard to work with. And yes, they'll tell you that I've been hard to work with sometimes, but we work it out and we get through it. As far as the political realm, in 2012, I attended the Liberty Political Action Conference right outside of Washington, D.C. And at that conference, I met people from FIPA, Foundation for Applied Conservative Leadership. Since then, I've been trained by some of the best political minds in the country. I left that conference in 2012 and I've never looked at politicians and politics the same again, ever again. I've hosted 2 of those training events in Morristown. I've worked with other groups like Americans for Prosperity and Freedom Works at the state level to stop the Obamacare expansion in Tennessee. I've to help put an end to civil asset forfeiture here in Tennessee. People losing their properties without arrest or conviction. We're working on that, making reforms to it. We're not where we want to be. We're still working the ball down the field. But, you know, I've had a lot of training, man. I can't tell you everything. I know you just have to believe me when I tell you that I've done a lot, especially here in the state for the last 10 years. But I believe when it comes down to it at the end, I agree with Ronald Reagan. If they don't see the light, make them feel the heat. And I will not compromise my principles. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Center?
Working together has always been a priority of mine, and teaching school, you learned a lot. Flexibility had to be your middle name. And it's the same way in working with any group that you work with. I think one of the most important things that we have to realize as a member of the City Council, we are one of 7. It's a team. There is no I in there. And so how do you get people to agree? Well, I do my research, and I come back and I share that whenever it's convenient. And you have to realize there has to be a timing element in there. You have to be willing to give as well as give those ideas that you have. You have to be able to listen and be open to other ideas. And sometimes you even have to let those ideas mellow, because you think about it, you don't want to make a snap decision. Patience and a sense of humor are essential, as well as thick skin. You need to respect the decisions of others, and when your votes don't align, you agree that that's okay, and you still get along. We don't realize that we must put in the time to create the opportunities to have others embrace an idea, and it takes a while to do that because you have to build respect and trust. You have to acknowledge that each council member brings special skills and background experience to the table, insight and experience, and they have something very valuable to contribute. Example would be the development of Morristown College and Fulton Hill Park at Morristown College site. That was one of the items that was in our long-range planning sessions. And we talked about that. We went as a group up to the site. We had various ideas of what was going on and what we wanted to say. Mr. Pettigow and I wanted to say more buildings than were possible. The mayor had the idea of saving the colonnades, and we weren't able to save the colonnades, but we were able to recreate those and preserve that aesthetic structure. During the pandemic, that's where I went for church on Sunday mornings, because you couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't be with anybody. And I think that the idea of our going up there touring and even going on a flatbed truck and sitting on hay bales gave us an opportunity to talk to that and build a coalition of agreement. It can be done.
Thank you. Mr. Pettigow?
Well, I think what we're looking for here is honesty, integrity, willingness to work, to express yourself, express your opinion, willing to negotiate. You know, the big thing that's hard to understand, anybody, including myself, everybody else on this stage right here, is you think, you know, I've got some great ideas. I got some ideas that I think we need to do. But we all have to understand, City Council, County Commission, the government of any kind is not a one-man show. We've got to be able to express our opinions and then be willing to negotiate to make sure you got the best that you can get. My wife will tell you that sometimes she will admit that I'm not very easy at following directions. But you know, the thing you have to realize with the City Council's work and what they have to do, you have to follow directions. Sometimes you want to do things that this is what we need to do, and then you realize that your hands are tied. The government won't let you, the state won't let you. You can't do this, you can't do that. You have to deal with what you've got to deal with. We do a good job. I try to be able to negotiate, to be able to give my opinion, and more than anything, listen to what others have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Burke?
So as already mentioned before, a little bit of my track history, people and relationships are important. They're kind of my thing. And actually working with people through these difficult circumstances is something I excel at. So I expect that that will exactly be the case here on the council. I understand the need for teamwork, collaboration, professional relationships, and for rallying support to get the job done and to work tirelessly for the best interest of the people. I will collaborate with anyone who has the best interest of the constituents in mind. However, if and when instances surface that I feel that are not in the best interest of the city and of the people, I will use my one voice to voice this concern. I agree that this one vote will not change the outcome of the issues at hand, but I will respectfully disagree that my one vote won't get anything done. You see, there's power in your voice. If you have only one voice and you choose to speak it, there's power in it. And if you have that passion inside for something and you believe in something so righteously that you can't sit back and you can't stop the voice from coming out, then I urge you to speak up because you have that passion for a reason. And don't ever let anyone slow down that passion or try to silence your voice. But back to why my vote will get something done, even if I'm the only vote, is that voting records are public record, as most of you probably already know. So the people will know what I stood for and what I stood against. Voters will then be able to make an informed decision next election cycle on who is no longer being a good steward of the representative seat in which they've been elected for. And then the voters can change who they want to represent them and can rectify that with their next vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garrett.
I like this one here, and I'm going to use an example to show you how this works. Shortly after I was on council, we got a letter from Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation that the commissioner was going to send us a commissioner's order saying that they were going to take over the sanitary sewer system if we didn't repair it. And then there were fines to go along with it. Well, what we did, gave them is we got Lamar Dunn to help us straighten the problem out. And we worked on it for a long time. In fact, at one point, Tony Cox was using 65% of his time for the sanitary sewer problem. He told us that. So we worked on it. It took a long time to get it straightened out. But we finally got a coalition of council members to vote to turn it over to operations of the MUS, which was right down their alley anyway. And they have done a good job with it. They have corrected the problems with it. And that's an effort of getting us together. I've spearheaded it with Mark for that to be done. I actually had seen the sanitary sewer system work alongside of it for 42 years. And I knew that they were just patching it up sooner or later. Something would happen, but I didn't know that it actually would. Now, one thing that also started at that time was, Tony was here, we started doing a program to stormwater. Now, that was a federal mandate also, you had to do it. But that's one of the things the city has really excelled in. You've seen a lot of it in repairing storm sewer around the city of Morristown. But interesting thing about the water rates, my water rate for sewer is $12.51 a thousand. Portable water is $3.80 a thousand. Now, granted, sanitary sewer prices are a little bit higher than water, but that's the problem with the sewer system.
Thank you. This concludes the question and answer portion of the program. At this time, each candidate will have the opportunity to make a 1-minute closing statement, and we will start with Mr. Pettigo.
First of all, I would like to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to serve on the city council. I promised then I would do my best when I started, and I promise today that I will continue to do the job that I think needs to be done. A couple of points I want to make real quick. Number one, when industries come to your community to bring in a factory or something like that, they want to know what you have to offer their employees. They want to know what's there. You got to realize that we're within 30 miles or so of Knoxville. People can work in Morristown, drive back and forth to Knoxville if they want to, if they want things like that. But we've got to have something to keep these people here in Morristown and make them want to stay. It's hard, it really is, to be a mayor or to be a councilman or even a county commissioner. It's a hard job. It's not an easy job. It's very easy to be an armchair quarterback and sit back and say what should be done, what shouldn't be done. But I can honestly tell you, when you hear words like cut the fat, line your pockets, that you don't listen, that's kind of hard to take, because we're doing the best we can do, and we promise that we will continue to do the best we can do.
Thank you. Mrs. Center?
I want to thank you again for coming out tonight, each of you in the audience, and I appreciate the Chamber and the Tribune for sponsoring this. I offer proven leadership, experienced leadership that has produced results. I'm dedicated to Morristown. I'm dedicated to making Morristown the best place to live, work, and raise a family. I offer conservative leadership and decision-making based on research. Tonight, I'm asking you for your vote. I'm asking you to return me so that I can help finish out these projects that we've started that the citizens deserve and the city needs. The city needs them in order to maintain the quality of life and attract others to our area. I want to return so that we can continue this and reach our full potential as the leader in the region, in the Lakeway region. Early voting starts tomorrow. I suggest you and request that you vote early. Election day is May 4th. I'm asking for your vote for proven leadership, dedicated service, responsible conservative decisions.
Thank you. Mr. Cook?
Thank you again for hosting the forum, and remember, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. You have a clear chance to make a different choice this time. I hope I've earned your vote, and I thank you for having me.
Thank you. Mr. Garrett?
I want to thank the group for coming today, and hope you learned something today, and I think you did.
Thank you. Mr. Burke?
Thank you. I agree that you likely learned a lot, and I think that will affect your vote. Thank you for everyone that has come. Thank you for your commitment to the city, because none of us up here really matter when it comes down to it. We are up here for you. The city is, the people of the city is what makes the city. Without the people, we just have a barren wasteland. You guys are the people, you are the city, and we are up here for you. So I want to take the time, the last few seconds that I have is, you've already heard enough about me. I've talked about me more than I have tonight, probably in a long time. But I want to extend that offer to you, to thank you, show you my appreciation for you, the commitment that you have for the city, the opportunity that I have had, that you have given me, the more faces that I have found as I've met you. I've gone door to door a lot. Many of you I have met, I have seen, I have had lots of conversations with you, and just the response that you have given me and the welcoming arms that you have shown me to be able to do this really means a lot, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you, candidates. I will let you know that this forum has been video recorded and will be available for viewing on the Citizen Tribune's website. When?
Tomorrow at noon.
Tomorrow at noon. So if you really enjoyed yourself and you want to hear it all over again, you can do that beginning tomorrow at noon. If you have friends or family members that were not able to be here, let them know about this. This is a great opportunity for them to be able to hear the candidates and make an educated decision when they go into the voting booth. Those of you who did not sign in, if you did not sign in when you came into the building, there's a yellow legal pad out there. Walter State has just asked that we get the names and phone numbers of anyone who came to the event, so we'd like to do that. Mike, do you have anything?
Just want to thank everyone for coming. Thank you, candidates, for participating. We wish you all the best of luck. And again, I think just your very presence here today is a good indicator that you care. Please tell your friends and families to be active in our election process and get out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, and you're adjourned.